Things really aren't looking good for the Janel Grant camp in the form of Vince McMahon filing a new statement of undisputed material facts. So Vince, once again, has the receipts. It's not so much that he alluded to them, especially in regards to his motion from a couple of days ago. Well, now he's just got him for the world to see. And where are all those believe all women bootlickers, huh? Where's Squared Circle coming forward and just going, Vince a bad man, he book bad show, therefore he creep. Man, there's nothing that'll turn you away from wrestling quite like the fans of wrestling. Disgusting group of people. Vince McMahon's attorneys have filed a new statement of material facts in support of his motion to compel arbitration. Court filing released on Wednesday argued that the facts McMahon submitted are undisputed in nature, and he reserves the right to introduce additional evidence. But we have not got to discovery yet, meaning the worst, especially for Janel, has yet to come. The defendant believes the material facts stated below are undisputed and inconclusively resolve the forum dispute before the court. Should the court find it necessary to conduct a hearing on any issue, defendant respectfully reserves his right to introduce additional evidence that bears on witness credibility, sophistication, state of mind, and similar issues. Oh yeah, that right there for the layman. Yeah, it just lets you know that Janel was more than a willing participant and, in fact, could have been the aggressor, the predator in this scenario. Vince was willing. Vince was willing to let this go by the wayside. He was willing to let it go to arbitration. But now, you decided that you wanted to get that easy bag, huh? Well, sucks to suck, I guess. According to the filing, McMahon and Grant entered a 3-year relationship that ended in January of 2022. When the relationship ended, a confidential settlement agreement was agreed to, and Grant herself negotiated the monetary compensation. Oh, really? Yeah, I could use $3 million. And Vince was like, that's it, pal. All right, I'll sign on the dotted line. That McMahon offered from $1 to $3 million before involving their attorneys in the case. All right, on January 27, 2022, Grant's attorneys sent a revised version of the draft agreement, which included the following language. In the event of any dispute arising under or out of this agreement, its construction, interpretation, application, performance, or breach, the parties agree to first attempt to resolve such disputes informally and prior to taking any formal legal action to resolve such disputes. Hence why there was an arbitration clause in it. In the event of any such dispute cannot be resolved informally, all parties hereto agree to the sole and exclusive legal method or resolve any and all disputes and or controversies is under the commence binding arbitration under the Federal Arbitration Act pursuant to the procedures of the American Arbitration Association, and to do so by sealed proceedings which preserve the confidentiality and private nature of this agreement. Yeah, exactly. If you just can't figure it out between your two legal parties to begin with, then you just go to this contractually stipulated mediator. Big shock on that one. Okay, like if there was some gray area in the NDA, some form or fashion, like Janel was mentioning, I just couldn't mention any of my previous work history because this is a terminal house daughter, by the way. Like, she had no other working record into her 40s, guys, before Vince set her up with his sweetheart job working in various departments, getting bounced around. Not the only time that she get bounced around within WWE, and everybody knowing, this is just Vince's squeeze of the month. Fantastic. So she's going to work in legal, then she's going to work over here in catering, and then she's going to work in live events. I don't know, man, whatever. But she's just so damn useless prior to her taking advantage of her diminishing assets that, maybe she needed. It's like, okay, cool. Maybe this ended up coming up, okay? Well, I need to make mention the fact that I used to work at WWE, and can I get like a good recommendation? Maybe they'd negotiate that informally, and then they'd end up coming to an impasse. It'd just end up reflecting poorly. Whatever ends up happening, and then they can go to an arbitrator if both sides think that they're right in that situation. But instead of coming to a proper conclusion, in the case of this situation with the NDA not getting paid out because TKO decided to put the kibosh on the payments in order to try to push Vince out of a leadership role, instead of working through these different steps, Janel just decided to go public with all this stuff. Wow, doesn't that kind of break a non-disclosure agreement? Wow. Parties agreed to discuss the venue of any such arbitration proceeding if and when such a dispute arises, which cannot be informally resolved. But in the event the parties cannot agree on a venue, then the exclusive venue for any arbitration proceeding shall be in Stamford, Connecticut. The prevailing party, as determined by the arbitration tribunal, shall be entitled to recover from the non-prevailing party all of its attorney's fees and costs. Oh boy, and that is a stipulation I'm pretty sure, broke-ass Janel cannot make good on. But the agreement also includes the following severability provision. In the event that any provision of this agreement is held to be void or unenforceable, there we go, that's the right way to say that, by an arbitration panel or court reviewing an arbitration decision, the remaining provisions shall nevertheless be binding, provided, however, if any of the confidentiality obligations, this is going to be important, of this agreement, are ever contended to be unenforceable by Grant, or are found to be unenforceable by any tribunal, Grant agrees that she shall return all monies paid pursuant the agreement to McMahon. Oh, I wonder if that has ended up happening. That's a big one. That's a big one right there. Her filing this legal suit, trying to get through loopholes in order to dissolve this NDA, in order to try to secure an even bigger bag. Oh, wow. Wow, interesting how this is all starting to line up, huh? McMahon agreed to pay Grant $3 million over 4 years through February 1st, 2026. Both McMahon and Grant signed and dated the agreement January 28th, 2022. 10 days later, McMahon issued the first payment of $1 million. And on Monday, McMahon's lawyers filed a new memo opposing Grant's motion to strike, and Grant was just kicking and screaming on that one. But yeah, that one right there, that's a big finding, okay, which obviously the court would have had, and Grant and at least the legal team, I'm sure that she's probably too stupid to have understood, yeah, if I went public with any of this stuff, I'd end up having to return everything a part of the NDA, which, yeah, imagine that. You get paid not to disclose what happened during and around your agreement with McMahon, and yeah, you get to keep the $3 million. But if you're going to go back on your contract, wow, imagine that. There are going to be repercussions, you blithering tard. But that's why she ended up getting more desperate, why she started to name additional people that were not named in the lawsuit, but would leak it out through her legal team, who were more than willing to get in front of any of these simpering outlets that would continue to find McMahon, Laurinaitis, and everybody else on the other side of this lawsuit guilty before proven innocent. And well, this is a big reason why I just cannot stand the modern wrestling landscape. Because, yeah, I don't like Johnny Ace. I think he's a total hack. He's bad at his job, and he ushered in probably the worst era for women's wrestling ever, with a bunch of fitness models and non-athletic secretaries. Like, the guy was a hack and really bad at his job, but he was friends with Vince and a hell of a good yes man, so of course he was going to keep his job for as long as possible. And given the fact that he was the only other guy mentioned by name in the lawsuit, well, when it didn't look all that good at the beginning, when all hellfire and brimstone were being rained down upon Vince, and he ended up taking a brunt of this stuff, Laurinaitis was flipping on Vince. He had nothing to do about this. He was just simply being brought along for the ride. He was also a victim of Vince McMahon's egomaniacal nature. But now, because all of the facts, or at least some of the facts, are starting to come to light, John Laurinaitis flips and is fully on Vince McMahon's side of the lawsuit defense. But just look at the way that these disingenuous pieces of garbage want to frame this stuff. And oh yeah, if you think that that's bad, now you have the Fed that wanted to go ahead and tuck tail and run away from its former chairman. They wanted to let the past die, kill it if they have to. Supports Vince McMahon motion in Janel Grant lawsuit. If you think there's going to be an amicable resolution to this, okay, on the Janel Grant side, if you don't think that this is going to be going to trial and there's going to be some unflattering truths of Little Miss I'm a victim come to light, you got another thing coming, man. The company filed a memorandum on Wednesday in support of Vince McMahon's motion to compel arbitration disputing Grant's allegations in the lawsuit. We went over Vince's accusation, or rather his response to the accusations, by saying this bitch cap in as many words, and now we'll hear from the Fed. agreement. WWE disputes Grant's allegations, but as a threshold matter, this dispute cannot be heard in court because Grant agreed to arbitrate her claims. WWE therefore moves to compel this action this action to arbitration. And if the case moves to arbitration, that would mean that the case would move to a private mediation out of the public court. All three defendants in the lawsuit, the Fed, McMahon, Laurinaitis, support taking the suit in this direction. Well, yeah, of course, they just want to, get this done and dusted with. Simply put, Grant has no claim or claims actionable in this court because the separation and non-disclosure agreement she signed with McMahon and WWE, there you go, the agreement, the monetary benefits of which she conceitedly accepted and retained, contains an arbitration provision that unambiguously precludes this court from adjudicating her claims, the Fed further said. WWE also said that which parts of the dispute should be handled in the arbitration should ultimately be decided by an arbitrator. Yeah, of course. We want to take it to arbitration. We want an arbitrator to handle it. Thanks, Fed. In her initial lawsuit, Grant said that the NDA was unenforceable, listing the Speak Out Act and the Victims of Trafficking and Violence Protection Act of 2000. WWE said in their filing that neither applies to arbitration. Yeah, no, exactly. You signed a case that would end up resulting in arbitration if you wanted to take it to the next step. But also, if you want to get even more saucy about this, let the public see. Let the public see what you're trying to make accusations off of, and I'm going to take a wild guess. You don't want that to happen. Vince, on the other hand, the fact that he's got these receipts, the fact that he's just willing to go, hey, you can take this to arbitration if you don't want things to get dirty. And trust me, brother, when you're fighting with somebody who made their bank, who became a billionaire on getting down in the mud, fighting dirty, but who has the cojones to think that a bottle of Just for Men hair dye and a Speedy Gonzalez mustache is acceptable at a major press conference, you're barking up the wrong tree. So, I don't know. Once again, I don't know if Vince did everything that was alleged in that lawsuit, but now that we're starting to see some other facts, some countervailing evidence pop up, I don't think Janel Grant does either. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.